Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I want to sit down and kind of talk to you guys about my expectations for new releases of fragrances, specifically between indie houses, designer houses, and niche houses, and what I look for from these houses and new releases, what gets me excited, what makes me sad, and just kind of like talk to you guys a little bit, again, using the same word, on my expectations for new releases. So keep watching. I thought it might be interesting to sit down and actually talk to you guys about my expectations for new releases of fragrances, specifically again from indie niche houses, luxury lines, and designers. I have had the pleasure of being able to smell so many things and I absolutely love it. This YouTube journey has been absolutely surreal, and being able to experience so many amazing olfactive masterpieces and experience new things, new houses, new compositions has just been a huge treat. And a lot of times too, you guys will reach out and ask me to review a new release or hey, check this out, we thought you'd really like it. And sometimes I review new things, specifically I think if you guys would be interested in it, just because I think you guys would be interested in it, and just generally overall, I like the stuff. But when it comes to new releases, there's always a lot of hype and a lot of hyper criticism that comes with any new release from a fragrance house, be it a niche house or a designer house. And I thought I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about my expectations with new releases, and that might kind of shine a little bit of a light on why some new releases I give glowing reviews to, even if they might not seem like something that's particularly exciting, or like, why would you like that so much? That seems boring. First and foremost, when it comes down to originality, unique and innovative compositions, it's really hard to do that. There are so many beautiful scents that have already been created, so many classic combinations, and only a specific amount of notes, granted thousands, but for the most part, there are like the 100 notes that you see in like everything. Like you have your bergamot, you have your vanilla, you have your ambergris, you have your oak moss, you have your cedarwood, you have your lavender, your iris, your vanilla, your rose, your jasmine, your gardenia, you know, you have your tobacco, your leather. All of these are very distinctive notes that when they come together, for the most part, they all smell very specific. So there's only so many unique combinations you can make from these notes, and since perfumery has been around for a ridiculously long period of time, for the most part, in a lot of cases, it's really hard to be super innovative or groundbreaking. It's not impossible. It absolutely is not impossible. And I'm not giving a pass to lazy houses who just keep regurgitating the same DNA over and over and over again. But it's really hard to find that beautiful blend of unique creativity, beautiful innovation, wearability, and just that wow factor that some fragrances don't have. I think it's really hard to do that while still meeting the expectations of keeping the fragrance at a specific price point, for specific designer houses, having it have mass appeal so that way people will buy it, so their investment in the marketing, the nose, the ingredients, all that stuff isn't like a blunder. Like, it's definitely a huge, and I mean a huge formula, and it is to some degree like a juggling act. So when I review a new fragrance, I definitely like to take all of that stuff in mind. When I review a new release from a fragrance house, I like to figure out, or like to kind of think to myself, where does this fragrance sit? Is it a mass appealing, marketable scent from a designer house that everyone knows? It is a new and up and coming niche house. Is it a luxury niche house? Is it indie? What is the price point of the scent? Where it is marketed? When I review a scent, I like to take all of those into consideration in regards to if I think the scent is good or not. I'm going to give you guys a prime example of the newly released, and I'm going to mispronounce this word, Idol from Lancome. This scent from Lancome is absolutely beautiful and a breathtaking scent, and Lancome has been known to create some of my favorite fragrances, and when I gave it a glowing review, a lot of people were like, eh? And a lot of reviews on this scent were, it's boring, it's been done before, there's nothing new about this. But If you look at Lancome scents and where it's been marketed, it fits perfectly into that demographic. Lancome wasn't trying to create something that was groundbreaking or innovative. It was trying to create a mass appealing, marketable scent that most women could wear and you could close your eyes, grab off the shelf, give it as a gift, and most people would think it was pretty and you'll get compliments on it. That's how that scent was marketed, that's how that scent was developed, and when I reviewed that scent, that's what I was comparing it to, other scents in that same category. And to be perfectly honest, it's a beautiful scent. I love it. But if I was going to review it against other scents, say Etat Libre d'Orange, that fragrance house, when they come out with something new, is a lot more provocative. It's a little bit more daring, it takes more risks, and it definitely isn't nearly as crowd-pleasing as a lot of Lancome scents. So when I review Etat Libre d'Orange fragrances, I'm reviewing them against other fragrance houses that are as cheeky as they are. And so if I say that it has wearability, it's beautiful, all this stuff, I don't want you to think that it's on the same level as wearable as Idol. It's different. Every category is different. It would be like taking a pie and judging it against a cake. They're both delicious desserts, but there's different aspects of it. You could say that this pie is beautiful and it's got a delicious filling and the crust is nice and flaky. But if you have a flaky cake, it doesn't sound too delicious, right? But sometimes, you know, if there's too much frosting on a pie, you'd be like, why is there even frosting on the pie? Like, it's two completely different items within the same category of being like a dessert or a pastry or things like that. And that's how I review fragrances, specifically new releases. I like to give a little bit of a padding specifically to designer scents because as somebody who is a lover of avant-garde, hard-to-wear niche fragrances, I myself am always drawn to the bizarre and quirky scents that most people wouldn't compliment me on. But when I'm reviewing fragrances, I'm not going to say that a particular scent smells boring just because it doesn't fit my specific olfactive aesthetic to how I like to smell. I like to think of generally, will most people like this? Is this mass appealing? Will this get you compliments? Because for a lot of people, that's important. And so when I'm reviewing, I like to remove my particular bias of fragrances, specifically from new releases, because it is so hard to be wowed when you've smelled thousands of different scents. You've literally smelled just about everything. So nothing smells new, but at the same time, you also want to be fair and just. And that means positive and negative as well. That means saying, this isn't so great, but this is amazing. Another example is Gabrielle from Chanel. I think that scent's beautiful. I really do. I think it was an absolutely fantastic scent. But when you look at the scent, how it was marketed against other Chanel scents, against other scents in its category, it was not nearly as, in my opinion, memorable as Idol from Lancome. It's a very forgettable scent. It could easily have been a flanker to chance, and I think it would have been more successful. It doesn't change the fact that it's a beautiful scent and I don't like it, but when it came down to reviewing that fragrance, I know Sebastian from Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews and I, we kind of thought it was more of like a think tank scent, like just a bunch of people got together and whichever one they rose their hand and liked more was the one that they chose. There wasn't a lot of thought behind it, but there's a little bit more thought behind Idol, and that's what I think makes it successful. So those are two examples of two very popular fragrances when they were newly released where, you know, I was a little bit harder on one, a little bit more forgiving on another, but there were distinct reasons why, specifically in why I reviewed them, why I thought a specific way about them, and why I was a little bit more lenient on one and harder on another. It had to do with its marketing, it had to do with its how it fit in the family of the other scents. There's a lot that goes into it. So with new releases in designer houses, I definitely am only reviewing them next to other designer fragrances, and I also have this idea in my head that 99.9% of all mass-produced designer scents are designed to be marketable. So I'm going to be reviewing them as if they were marketable scents. So that kind of subtracts a lot of innovation and creativity. For the most part, they're cookie cutters. That might sound horrible. I might get a lot of people mad, but it's true. But I'm not gonna knock any points because a scent's beautiful, even if it smells familiar or the same. Don't buy it. Buy the one that was the original that you liked more. But I also understand why designer houses do what they do. So that's kind of why I do that with designer houses. With niche houses, I wouldn't say that I'm more flexible, but I get more excited for new releases. I love seeing what some of my favorite niche houses do and create, and the compositions that they come up with. It's absolutely spectacular. And I definitely am way more excited for new releases from niche houses than I am from designer houses, even from the higher end lines, except maybe Lancome in regards to their higher lines. I just get really excited because there's a lot of just groundbreaking creativity that comes from these niche houses, new fresh ideas, new revamped takes on old classics, and you definitely see a lot of just beautiful fragrances coming out from these houses, or just unique creative works of art that you maybe can only wear certain places. But I get way more excited, and I think that I'm not easier to please on the niche market, but I am a little more critical because I do expect a lot more. Because unlike the designer houses, they don't have the burden of having to please millions of people. They really only have to please themselves and to some degree market something that they love to people who also love the olfactive arts. To me, designer scents are a little bit more kind of like the Fridays of the world, and this sounds horrible, and oh my gosh, so many of you guys are gonna download this, but it's a mass appealing food store that you go to and everything on the menu tastes the same. And niche are kind of more of like the food trucks or those really gastropubs or unique bistros where they're really experimenting with new and unique flavor combinations, but it's perfume. And yes, they have to market it and to sell it, but they really have the freedom to do what they want to do because they're own boss and they're not answering to shareholders. So they can really create what they want and explore, and that's what gets me excited about niche houses and specifically new releases from niche houses. And I have been way behind on purchasing new releases from niche houses. Oh my goodness, next year I have so many plans, but this year, whew, it's just been really hard on me. But with new releases from niche houses, I like to specifically, especially if it's a house that I'm very comfortable with and very knowledgeable about or have a lot of experience with, I will only really judge it against its own other fragrances. So zoologist, Gallagher, fragrances against Gallagher, fragrances, Gallivant against Gallivant, things like that. Passive matriarch against passive matriarch. Those are the houses that I really only will judge it and compare it to its own releases, because in a lot of ways they're very groundbreaking in their own way, and they have a unique take on scents, and they have their own special DNA and their own special way of doing things. And it's just a lot. So for me, new releases from niche houses, I like to compare to their own library, but at the same time, I'm also a little bit more excited and I think a little bit more lenient as well. In any case, new releases are things that I'm not always excited to review either. I'm usually very late, unless it's a first impression or something that I've had the ability to sample way ahead of time. I like to sample scents for at least 3 to 4 weeks before I review them. So, and I mean like weeks of wear, not just wearing it once or twice in those times, like wearing it 10, 11, 12 times in a variety of different environments so I can tell you guys what I think. So I'm always like the late one to the party with new releases, unless I got my hands or my nose on a sample beforehand. Sometimes I'm able to do that, sometimes I'm not. But new releases are very tricky to me, specifically to review. And oh my gosh, this video is a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be, and I'm very sorry, but I did kind of want to get into this and do like a little chit chat video for you guys. But for me, reviewing new releases has a lot to do with just my expectations of the scents, where it's marketed, what category it fits into, and judging it accordingly. I'm not gonna categorize a new release from Demeter and go against a new release from Xerjoff, but I am going to probably look at new releases from Xerjoff and compare it to new releases from, say, Raja or Emma Watch. Or if I do a new release from Zoologist, I'll probably, you know, check it out against Gallagher. But specifically, those houses against themselves. But with designer houses, I do understand why, what, how, when, where, what, mineral, vegetable, all that stuff in regards to why it was marketed and the expectations for the scent in regards to its performance in selling and why they make certain decisions. So I don't expect innovation from those scents. I just expect something that smells good. In any case, I feel like I'm talking in circles. In fact, I know I'm talking in circles, so I'm gonna stop this video right here. I'm sorry it's going up so late. It's been a freaking busy few weeks. I actually had a personal video I put up and I accidentally deleted it, but a lot has changed the past week and a half or 2 weeks that went up, so I'm actually planning on doing another personal video, so look for that later on this week. But in any case, guys, I figured I'd sit down and talk to you guys a little bit about that. And yeah, if you guys hated this video, give this video a thumbs down. If you like these types of more chit-chatty videos, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. And hit the little bell so you can get notified when I have new videos. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.